The sky above Sarnath 12 pulsed with veins of violet lightning, splitting the ash-drenched clouds apart as a fireball streaked down from orbit. It cut through the choking atmosphere like a dying comet, trailing smoke and metallic screams, until it slammed into a jagged obsidian ridge with a thunderous crack. The ground quaked. Shards of black rock flew into the air, melting into the acid mist before hitting the swamplands below. From the twisted wreckage, a figure staggered out, armor scorched, visor cracked, and a metal cable dragging behind him. His name was Dale Reven ***. He fell to his knees, coughing violently. The rebreather inside his helmet hissed and clicked, trying to filter the toxic air. Sarnath 12 was no place for life, not anymore. Not since the Vorsh abandoned it after turning it into one of their many biological testing grounds. Now it was nothing more than a decaying graveyard of their failed experiments. Behind Dale, the remains of his shuttle flickered and hissed. The hull was half-melted, the landing gear a broken stump. But one thing had survived the crash. The reinforced ** containment pod * chained to his back, and the * steel canister of neural fuel he was hired to deliver. A crackling voice buzzed in his comms. "You made it! That's a surprise." 3 figures emerged from the smoke, ** mercenaries *, not human. Their exosuits were layered in scaled armor, orange symbols glowing faintly on their shoulders, markings of a syndicate. Dale had worked for once, but never trusted. One of them, a towering alien with a glassy respirator and triple-jointed limbs, approached Dale, scanning him with a handheld device. "You brought the package. Good. The feeder protocol starts now. Don't screw it up." Dale looked up, grimacing beneath his helmet. "What exactly am I feeding?" The lead mercenary grinned. At least Dale thought it was a grin. Something the Vorsh left behind. Something alive. They led him to the edge of a ** fissure *, its mouth wide and steaming with greenish haze. A makeshift lift waited, barely functional, made of welded scrap and humming power cells. Dale stepped on, hauling the containment pod beside him. As the lift descended, his surroundings grew darker. The walls dripped with sulfur and metal corrosion. The further down he went, the louder he heard it. ***, a heartbeat *. Not his, not mechanical, something ancient. Then he saw it. Chained to the rock by ** neuroclamps *, and magnetic spikes *. The creature curled in a pit of its own scorched breath, nearly 15 feet long, covered in carapace-like armor plated with biometal. The being pulsed with a faint red glow beneath its skin. Its limbs were bound, neck shackled by a band of Vorsh tech that blinked in slow intervals. Eyes, 6 of them, glowed faintly in the dark, watching Dale's every movement. Predator. Dale didn't flinch. He'd seen creatures like this before, engineered weapons, grown not born, programmed to destroy on command. But this one, it didn't growl. It didn't lunge. It didn't move at all. He approached slowly, pulling the fuel canister from the pod. He was instructed to inject it into the feeding rig at the edge of the cage, some mix of nutrients and neural dampeners, designed to keep the creature docile. But something was wrong. The creature's eyes didn't burn with rage or hunger. They were wide almost. Hollow. Dale saw something else too. ***. Not from battle, but from restraint. Surgical marks. Branding. He hesitated. "Start the feed," the voice crackled in his earpiece, "or the clamps fail, and we get a mess we don't want to clean." He gritted his teeth. Something about this didn't sit right. He placed the fuel down, stepped closer, closer than the instructions allowed. The creature didn't react. He crouched, eyes meeting its lowest pair. For a brief second, everything went silent, except for a sudden flicker in Dale's HUD. A foreign signal. Data spike, visual overlay. He blinked and the world shifted. Flashes of images, not his, rushed through his mind. Visions of a ** lush world now shattered. Predator's younglings huddled beneath its wing. Then, burning skies, black ships, needles through flesh, pain, pain, pain. Dale gasped, falling back, The feed broke. "What the hell's going on down there?" the mercenary shouted through the comms. He didn't answer. His hand hovered near the injection port. He could end this creature's mind with one push of the syringe. That was the deal, no questions. But that look, it wasn't rage. It was a cry. He looked back at the canister, then at the creature, then at the shackle around its throat. Something inside him shifted. Screw this. He stood up and smashed the injector asterisk against the wall. It shattered. Red fluid hissed into the air and evaporated. "Revenge, what are you doing?" He walked to the neuroclamp. The device was Vorsh, but he'd seen one before. It had a core override used in emergencies. If he triggered it, the creature would be free. He typed in a code fast. "Please don't make me regret this," he muttered. With a hiss and a spark, the clamp disengaged. The creature didn't move. For a second, Dale thought it had died. Then its chest rose, one slow breath, then two. The eyes glowed brighter. "REVEN," the comms screeched, but Dale had already disabled them. His eyes stayed locked on the creature, S. It stood, not like a beast, but like something that remembered how to rise asterisk. And then it did something that chilled Dale to his core. It asterisk lowered its head asterisk to him, as if saying, "I know what you've done, and I remember mercy." Outside, the winds of asterisk howled. Above, the satellites stirred. And in the pit below the old world, a hunter and a prisoner shared their first breath of rebellion. Dale Reven wasn't born a soldier. He wasn't bred in the bone-crushing academies of the human coalition, nor forged in the fire of patriotic doctrine. He was born on Outpost Haldrex 7 ***, a mining station orbiting a dead moon, where the stars were something people cursed rather than wished upon. He grew up beneath rusted bulkheads and oxygen leaks, in a world where survival wasn't noble, it was maintenance. Just enough oxygen, just enough rations, just enough silence to get through another rotation. His parents worked the ore drills. His sister helped calibrate the magnetic lifters. His life was small, ordinary, until the Vorsh came ***. He was 16 when the sky tore open. No declaration, no warning. The Vorsh came like a sickness, drifting through the atmosphere in black spires and silver spores. The coalition didn't send reinforcements. They marked the station as asterisk, strategically obsolete. Within 3 hours, Haldrex 7 was gone. Dale never forgot the silence after the screams, or the way the station's AI kept repeating evacuation instructions long after everyone had stopped moving. He survived by hiding beneath a collapsed habitat dome, watching shadows move above him. *** inhuman, insectoid, gleaming with wet machinery. One of them glanced toward his hiding spot but didn't see him. Or maybe it did and just didn't care. Either way, Dale learned his first lesson. The galaxy doesn't care if you're innocent. It only cares if you're useful. He never saw his family again. In the years that followed, Dale wandered the fractured colonies like a ghost. He sold his skills to whoever paid, mercenary companies, smugglers, scavenger crews. He didn't care who they were. He didn't care what they stood for. His loyalty wasn't for sale, but his silence was ***. He became known as someone who *** got the job done, asked no questions, and never stayed long enough to matter. They called him a professional ***. What they didn't know was that he still woke up from dreams of gasping metal and flashing red lights, that he still saw the faces *** of the people he couldn't save, especially one. The child had been no older than 8. Some warlord on a terraformed rock wanted Dale to clear out a refugee settlement, said it was harboring rebels. Dale didn't believe it, but it wasn't his job to believe. The pay was high and the job was surgical. In and out, minimal confrontation, until he saw the child, dirt-covered, clutching a broken drone like a teddy bear, eyes wide with that same ***Haldrex stare ***. Dale had the child in his scope, not as a target, just there, standing between him and the designated evac zone. He didn't pull the trigger, he didn't move, someone else did. A gunship above, one of their own. The settlement vanished in fire. He never took another contract from that warlord, but he never forgot the child's face either. Now, years later, standing on the edge of the Predathor's pit Dale felt it again, that same silence, the same pulse of a moment that would decide what kind of man he was. The creature was watching him, its 6 glowing eyes half-lidded, not with hostility, but something stranger. Recognition. He knelt closer. The chain from his shoulder scraped the stone as he reached out to stabilize the feeder tube. His fingers brush against the bioplate skin of the creature. And everything changed. It wasn't pain, it wasn't electricity. It was memory, not his. A world flooded his mind, lush, hot, vibrant with life. Predathor ran free, surrounded by others of its kind. Smaller ones trailed behind it, offspring. There were no weapons, no war. Just movement, rhythm, instinct. Then darkness, metal clamps, invasive needles. The sound of Vorsh language, emotionless and precise. Images of fire, of cages, of babies dragged away screaming, of acid poured into nests. And through it all, helplessness untranslatable, raw. Dale jerked back, his breath ragged. The visions vanished, but the emotion lingered. The creature wasn't a monster, it was a parent, and it was alone. He looked at the fuel canister again. The chemical mix designed not to nourish, but subdue to keep the mind sedated and the body obedient. A leash made of molecules. Then he looked back at the creature. Something inside him twisted. Not guilt. He stopped being guilty a long time ago. This was something else. Recognition. He rose to his feet slowly. He didn't speak. He never did when it mattered. But his mind spun. He thought of his parents' last transmission, of the child in the scope, of every life he'd walked away from because the contract said, stay clean. And now this thing in chains, another job, another silence, another execution. Except this time he didn't want to walk away. In the command tent above the fissure, the mercenaries waited for his signal. A green pulse meant feeding complete. Red meant containment breach. Dale's finger hovered over the comms switch. He could lie. He could stall. Or he could do something no one expected him to do anymore. Decide. He looked down at the creature once more. The eyes hadn't left him. No growl, no plea. Just the waiting look of something who had been judged too many times to beg for mercy anymore. And for the first time in years, Dale Reven made a choice not out of profit or fear or survival. He made it because he knew what it meant to have no one come for you. He reached into his belt, pulled the code breaker he always kept hidden, walked toward the restraint core, and whispered to himself, let's see what happens when the monster walks free. The code was older than most memories, a fragment of outdated Vorsh encryption buried deep in scavenger forums and forgotten black market archives. Dale had kept it not because he thought he'd use it, but because it reminded him that even the most advanced chains had a key, if someone cared enough to look. He cared now. His fingers moved quickly across the interface of the neuro clamp, bypassing the encryption layer and feeding in the override. The metal band around the creature's neck blinked, whirred, and then, clicked open asterisk. Predathor didn't move. Dale stepped back, heart pounding. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to reach for a weapon, to signal for extraction. But he did none of that. He just stood still and waited. The creature exhaled, slow, deep, and then, with deliberate, aching motion, it lifted its head. Unshackled for the first time in what might have been decades. It didn't roar, didn't lash out. It simply looked at him, eyes like dim stars in the gloom. And in that moment, something ancient and fragile passed between them. Then the voice in Dale's earpiece shattered it. Unauthorized override detected in containment pit. Reven, respond immediately. He didn't. He reached for the comms and crushed it under his boot. That was his answer. A harsh alarm blared from the fissure walls, echoing up the shaft like a war cry. Red lights blinked. Motion sensors activated. Automated drones zipped into the tunnel, scanning for heat signatures. Dale turned toward the lift. It wasn't coming back down. He was trapped. He glanced over his shoulder. The creature remained still, as if waiting for a signal of its own. And then the voice changed. Cold, mechanical. Attention, asterisk subject 009 has breached restraint protocol. Per Vorsch Directive 14C. Orbital sanitization will commence in 19 minutes. All personnel must evacuate. Dale's blood ran cold. He remembered that directive. Orbital sanitization asterisk didn't mean a warning shot. It meant they'd glass the surface of Sarnath 12 from orbit. Wipe out everything within the containment zone. No survivors, no records, and he just triggered it. The lift ground into motion again, coming down this time fast and heavy. He knew what that meant. They weren't sending evac. They were sending execution. 3 mercenaries dropped from the platform before it even touched the rock floor. Their weapons were hot, eyes shielded with reinforced HUDs. "Reven," one barked. "Step away from the creature. You've broken contract law and triggered planetary purge. You'll die with it unless you surrender now." Dale raised his hands, but not in surrender. His voice was calm, even. "This thing isn't what they told us it was. It remembers, it suffers, it's not the monster." The lead mercenary laughed. "No, you are." The first shot came fast, a pulse round meant to incapacitate. Dale dodged too slow. It clipped his side, burning through the soft armor seam near his ribs. He dropped hard, gritting his teeth, pain lancing up his back. Another mercenary raised a blaster toward his head. But before the trigger could be pulled, everything changed asterisk. A low hum, building, resonant, filled the chamber. The kind of frequency that you felt in your teeth before your ears. Predator was standing. Its chest swelled, spine unfolding like a coiled spring unbound. A sharp asterisk crack echoed as joints realigned. The glow beneath its carapace pulsed from faint red to a searing molten white. And then, with terrifying grace, it opened its mouth and fired asterisk. A stream of plasma, focused and impossibly hot, erupted from its throat like the breath of a dying star. It hit the mercenary square in the chest, vaporizing armor and flesh in an instant. The second man barely had time to scream before the wave struck him too, reducing his weapon to slag and his body to smoke. The third merc ducked behind the lift shaft, frantically calling for backup. Dale stared in stunned silence. He'd read reports. Everyone had. The Vorsch had tried to weaponize Predator's internal core as a directed energy source, but had failed. The neural dampeners had suppressed the creature's natural abilities. This was something no one had seen before. He struggled to his feet, clutching his bleeding side. Predator turned to him, not snarling, not triumphant, simply watching, waiting. "You saved me," Dale whispered. No response, just a flick of the tail, a shift in stance, calm, measured, and in its own strange way grateful. The lift groaned again, ascending now, taking the third merc with it. Dale knew they'd call for orbital strike acceleration. He had maybe asterisk 15 minutes left before this entire crater became a firestorm. He looked up, then at the control rig still mounted on Predator's neck. Though the clamp had been deactivated, the device still pulsed faintly, emitting low-level suppression signals. Dale stepped forward, pain forgotten, and reached toward it. The creature didn't move. He took the control collar in both hands and ripped. The device shattered in his grip, metal and fiber snapping like brittle bone. For the first time since their meeting, Predator asterisk lifted its head fully asterisk, spine arching, talons flexing against the rock. And then it asterisk roared asterisk. But it wasn't fury, it was freedom. The scream tore through the earth like thunder. Stones fell from the ceiling. Seismic sensors on every orbital satellite flared red. Above them, the clouds churned as orbital weapons began to warm. But down below, in the steaming shadows of a dying planet, a broken hunter and a liberated beast stood side by side. Not enemies, not captor and captive, survivors. The first shots would come soon, but so would asterisk resistance asterisk asterisk. They moved like ghosts beneath a sky of fire. Dale and Predator had survived the first onslaught, but they weren't free. Not yet. Above them, orbital satellites hummed in silent pursuit, tracking heat signatures and seismic disturbances. On the ground, mercenary units in high-speed crawler mechs swept through the cracked terrain, following scorch marks and radiation trails. Sarnath 12 had become a battlefield, and Dale was the most wanted man on it. The oxygen scrubbers in his mask were failing. The heat from the planet's core radiated up through the ground. His ribs still ached from the plasma burn, but he kept moving, climbing ridge after ridge, following the massive silhouette of the creature beside him. Asterisk asterisk not leading it, not commanding it, but simply moving with it asterisk. Predator made no sound. Its stride was steady, movements deliberate. If it felt exhaustion, it didn't show it. But Dale knew something else stirred within the beast now. Something deeper, not hunger, memory. He hadn't slept in 30 hours. When exhaustion finally caught him, they were huddled in a collapsed transport shell, hidden beneath sheets of slag and debris. Dale's eyelids fell heavy, and then the dreams began. They weren't his. The images came in waves, a sprawling jungle world with twin suns echoing with the cries of creatures now extinct. Predator ran with its kind, wings stretching wide, tail carving arcs through the sky. It wasn't a weapon then. It was a guardian, protector of a vast crystal hive where its young nested in warmth and light. Then came the black ships. Vorsh sigils painted across their hulls like warnings. The skies turned red. Fire descended in lines. Nets fell from the clouds, and screaming filled the air. Predator's offspring were torn from the nest. Dale bolted awake, soaked in sweat. The creature sat nearby, still and silent, but its eyes were open. Watching, by nightfall they reached it. The remains of Asterisk Research Station Sigma-9, buried in volcanic glass near the southern pole. It was here, decades ago, that the Vorsh conducted their non-cognitive weaponization initiative. The humans called it something else. Project Mindless God. Dale stared at the scorched doors, at the faded insignia of the Human-Vorsh Science Accord. A joint operation. A lie that had once justified torture under the banner of scientific progress. "You've been here before, haven't you?" he whispered. Predator stepped forward, claws curling in the ash. One of the outer towers still stood. Dale scanned it and found a heat signature, small but human. They weren't alone. Inside the crumbling tower, the air stank of ammonia and dust. Dale climbed slowly, rifle drawn, while Predator remained outside, its massive frame too large for the narrow corridors. At the top, in what had once been the command observatory, he found the source. A man, thin, frail, wrapped in an old lab coat that hung like a memory. His hair was white, skin sallow, and a datapad blinked faintly beside him. He turned slowly, his voice rasping. "I was wondering when it would come back." Dale raised his weapon. "You were part of this." The man didn't flinch. "I led it." He gestured to the shattered holoscreens around them. "Project Mindless God. We thought we could build the perfect deterrent. A being of pure instinct, stripped of empathy, programmed for annihilation. And instead you destroyed a world," Dale said coldly. "A world that resisted conquest," the scientist muttered. "A world that wouldn't bend to order. We needed to know how to break that kind of will. So we broke theirs first." Dale stepped closer. "You killed its young." "We studied them," the man corrected, as if that made it noble. "And we learned. The neural lattice of that species is astonishing. It learns emotionally, bonding through shared memory. We tried to erase that, but the creature held on to something. A thread." The man looked past Dale, toward the broken window where Predator now stood, watching silently. "It remembers me, doesn't it?" Dale didn't respond. "Then finish it," the scientist whispered. "Do what it won't. Kill me." And that was the moment. That was the test. Dale's finger tightened on the trigger. He thought of the child in the scope, of Haldrex 7, of all the people who thought they could play God with other lives and walk away clean. The man before him deserved to die, but Dale wasn't sure he deserved to kill him. He lowered the rifle. "It's not my choice." He stepped aside. Predator entered the room slowly, claws clicking against the metal floor. The air trembled with each step. Its eyes locked onto the old man, unblinking. The scientist took a breath. "Do it!" Predator raised its head. And then asterisk did nothing asterisk. It simply stood there, tall, unmoving. The man blinked in confusion. "Why?" Dale finally spoke. "Because maybe it's not what you made it to be." Predator turned, walked out, left the man alive, and in doing so passed a judgment more powerful than death. They emerged from the facility in silence. The wind had picked up, hurling ash across the landscape like ghosts fleeing the past. Dale looked up at the sky, where a satellite blinked overhead, still tracking, always watching. "You had the chance," he said softly. Predator didn't respond. But Dale didn't need it to. He understood now. This wasn't about revenge. This was about something greater. Choosing what kind of being you are when no one expects you to be more than a monster. He glanced at the fading tower behind them. Not all monsters need to bleed the past dry. They walked into the storm together. Not as predator and prey but as survivors forging a new kind of path. One where vengeance bowed to memory, and where forgiveness wasn't weakness, but the final rebellion. The sky tore open like a wound. From orbit, the Vorsh Armada descended with terrifying precision. Streams of dark metal split through the atmosphere, trailing iron fire and piercing the clouds like spears. Satellites picked up the reactivation signal from Predator 2 hours earlier. Signals they had hard-coded as Class Omega threat. For the Vorsh, it meant one thing: total eradication protocol. Warships unfolded like obsidian wings, their hulls bristling with kinetic railguns and plasma casters. Below, the land screamed beneath the force of their arrival. Biological drop pods, grown, not built, slammed into the ground around Dale and Predator, splitting open to release combat constructs. Hybrid machines, engineered beasts fused with cold steel and hot instinct. The hunters had become the hunted. Dale saw the first drop ship hit the ridge. Its impact sent a shockwave through the valley, knocking him flat. Predator rose like a mountain of armor, mouth glowing as it unleashed a burst of plasma that shredded 2 incoming constructs into molten debris. The third leapt, only to be impaled by the creature's tail, slammed into the ground, and crushed without ceremony. But for every enemy destroyed, 2 more emerged. Dale ducked beneath the wreckage of an old scanner tower, firing his rifle into a beast with spider-like limbs and a humming neural core. The shot hit, but the construct kept coming. He rolled, jammed a blade into its throat, and twisted until it stopped moving. They were surrounded. "We're not going to survive this," he muttered, voice ragged. Predator didn't answer. It only fought. But Dale saw it, the cracks in its carapace, the tremble in its step. Plasma leaked from wounds. Even titans bleed when the odds grow too heavy. And then the worst happened. A railgun slug, fired from orbit, slammed into the cliffside, sending shards of molten rock across the battlefield. One chunk struck Predator's leg, breaking the joint with a sickening snap. The beast let out a sound Dale had never heard before. Pain, not rage, not fury, just pain. It staggered, dropped to one knee, and the constructs closed in. Dale didn't think. He threw his rifle aside, vaulted over a cracked pipeline, and ran straight into the fire. Not away from danger, but into a asterisk. Predator's massive head turned. Blood seeped from its side. It growled low, as if warning him to stay back. He didn't. "You saved me once," Dale said. "I'm not leaving you behind." He reached the beast, just as 2 constructs lunged. He drew a sidearm, shot one through the eye, and used his last grenade to obliterate the other in a flash of blue light. Shrapnel shredded his left arm. He screamed, but stayed standing. Predator tried to rise again and fell. "They'll take you, use you, control you again," Dale hissed through the pain. "Not if I can stop it." He looked up. A Vorsh command frigate hovered low, its control deck exposed beneath the belly. He had one shot left. Dale found a fallen bike drone among the wreckage, still sparking but partially functional. He mounted it with one hand, steering with broken sensors and sheer willpower. The deck of the ship was less than a kilometer up. Suicide? Maybe. But he'd already died the day his family burned. This was just the coda asterisk. He gritted his teeth, rerouted power, and launched himself into the sky, riding iron trails and chaos into the heart of the storm. The frigate's control deck was cold, clinical, crawling with skeletal guards. Dale crashed through a side window, tumbling across the floor, blood smearing behind him. A pair of Vorsh shrieked in surprise. He raised his sidearm, fired twice. They fell. He limped to the central console, where a pulsating asterisk neural core managed the entire MindLink network. It controlled every construct on the ground, synced by biofrequency, including, he realized, emergency override codes for creatures like Predator. He could break the leash completely. He reached into his chest armor and pulled out the asterisk chip he'd hidden for years, one salvaged from a fallen Vorsh captain. He'd always kept it as a souvenir. Now it was a key. He jammed it into the port. The core resisted. Lights flared red. Authorization denied. Neural override forbidden. Dale gritted his teeth and overrode the override asterisk. Feeding in the ancient codes he memorized from black market forums. Encryption layers he shouldn't have known. Override this. The console shrieked. Then silence, and then a pulse asterisk. Across the planet, the constructs stopped. Their eyes dimmed. Their limbs froze. And within that pulse, something else happened. Predator blinked, shuddered, and for the first time since its imprisonment, it felt no foreign signal in its brain. No leash, no walls, only itself. But Dale never saw it, because the guards came. They tackled him hard, cracking his jaw against the console, kicked the weapon away, dragged him to the center of the chamber. A Vorsh commander loomed above him, an enormous thing with too many eyes and not enough soul. "You think you've won," the alien hissed. "You've done nothing but release a mistake back into the void." Dale spat blood. "You're scared of it, that's why you came. Not because it's dangerous, but because it remembers." The alien raised a blade, silver and curved, ceremonial. "Then you die with your pets." But the walls groaned. Screams echoed from the lower decks. A tremor shook the ship, followed by a deafening crack asterisk. Then, through the blast doors, Predator burst in asterisk. Claws first, armor broken but eyes burning. It didn't roar. It didn't charge. It simply walked forward, every step thunder. The guards opened fire. The beams bounced asterisk off. The Vorsh commander turned, but the blade never fell. Predator lifted Dale with one clawed hand, shielding him, standing like a wall between him and everything else. Dale looked up, dazed, half-conscious. "You came back." The creature didn't speak, but it didn't need to. This wasn't obedience. This wasn't vengeance. This was something older a bond. Together, they leapt from the burning ship as it collapsed beneath its own weight, tumbling toward the planet's crust. They didn't fall, they descended hunter and hunted, no longer enemies, no longer tools, but something more, something free. The war ended not with a detonation, but with a retreat. The Vorsh Armada, those black-winged beasts of orbit, masters of manipulation, architects of biological dominion, withdrew. One by one, their command ships broke formation, blinking out of the toxic sky like embarrassed gods who'd been bested by their own creation. The planet shook once more, not from bombardment, but from the silence they left behind. Predator stood atop a ridge of obsidian rock, its form battered but unbroken, the wind dragging smoke across its back like a trailing cloak. Below, the shattered remains of biological constructs twitched and cooled. The battlefield was quiet. Scars burned across the landscape. Acid rain began to fall, but this time it couldn't wash away what had changed. Dale Raven lay among the rubble, ribs cracked, suit torn, blood seeping through his side. But he was alive, and he wasn't a lone asterisk. Predator looked down at him for a long moment, 6 eyes, each burning with something both ancient and unknowable. Then, without a sound, the beast turned. It lumbered into the distance, vanishing slowly into the mist of asterisk the scorch, stone forest asterisk asterisk. Its massive frame dissolving into the terrain like a myth returning to the soil. It did not wait for praise. It did not expect goodbye, because their connection, asterisk asterisk, that invisible, wordless bond asterisk asterisk, was never about ownership. It was about choice. The days that followed were different. Word spread through the outer colonies like wildfire. Transmission logs, satellite recordings, and testimonies from mercenaries who had survived the purge were smuggled across the stars. They spoke of a human who had defied orders, broken protocol, and awakened an ancient weapon. Asterisk asterisk, not to destroy asterisk, but to asterisk liberate asterisk asterisk. They called Dale Raven a traitor, then a hero, then something between. More importantly, the activation pulse he triggered, the override that severed the Vorsh's biocontrol link, asterisk asterisk echoed asterisk asterisk. Across ruined moons and forgotten test sites, other creatures, once enslaved, once muted, began to stir. They blinked, they breathed, and they remembered who they were. The asterisk asterisk control web had collapsed asterisk asterisk. The Vorsh denied it, said it was an isolated anomaly. But their silence in the outer systems told a different story. A reckoning had begun. Dale never returned to Earth. He refused every invitation to speak at summits, to testify before the Galactic Tribunal, to accept medals forged by the same institutions that once sold his people out. The Coalition offered him wealth, sanctuary, even citizenship. He turned it all down. Instead, he stayed on asterisk Sarnath 12 asterisk asterisk, the planet where it had all begun and where everything had changed. With broken hands and mended bone, he built a small shelter from the ruins of Sigma 9. Not much, a low dome made of scavenged metal, plastic weave, and volcanic glass. The filters buzzed endlessly to keep the air breathable. The heat from the crust made every sunrise shimmer like a hallucination. But it was enough. Here he wasn't a soldier or a fugitive or a legend. He was just a man trying to live honestly in the aftermath of dishonesty. Weeks passed, then months, then something strange happened. Life returned. Not human life, but the wild kind. Creatures once thought extinct crept out of the stonewood forest. 6-legged grazers drank from sulfur springs. Winged things nested in the cliffs. Dale, sitting on the ledge of his hut with a scar across his brow and a datapad in his lap, began to take notes. He named them, not scientifically, personally, and some nights under the shimmer of twin moons, he swore he could see a shadow in the trees, taller, slower, always just at the edge of vision. He never chased it. He didn't need to. One evening, as the wind howled low and the sky bruised with an incoming storm, Dale sat beneath the twisted frame of an old comms tower, writing. His left hand shook now, nerve damage, but he still managed to scrawl his thoughts into a weather-worn journal. On the last page he paused, then wrote, "We called it a monster, but in its eyes I saw a choice. Not rage, not vengeance, just the possibility of something else. And I finally understood what makes a creature human isn't DNA. It's the capacity to forgive." He closed the journal, set it gently beside a stone-carved marker that bore no name, only a symbol. Asterisk 6 eyes inside a circle. And for a moment, the air around him felt warm. Not from the planet, but from asterisk presence asterisk asterisk. He didn't look, didn't need to. He simply whispered, voice rasping from too much silence. "Wherever you are, you're free now." The wind carried his words into the burning dusk. And so, on a planet once ruled by fire and chains, a man with nothing left found a kind of peace, not from victory, but from asterisk understanding asterisk asterisk. Predator never returned. but neither did the monsters. And somewhere in the scorched woods, beneath the cracked moons of Sarnath 12, the forest grew. Slowly, quietly, and so did hope,